In Monarch Data Prep Studio, summaries help users analyze data and uncover insights. In this summary, we have our sales figures for orders on different bike parts for these customers under these sales organizations. We can go through the summary levels and examine how well different customers and sales groups are doing, as well as see the organization's overall performance. However, we could still improve how the information is presented and make the summary easier to understand. For instance, there are a lot of repeating values here that clutter the report, and having subtotals for each sales group would be useful. To address that, let's configure the summary layout, specifically the layout for the sales organization. The fields defined as the summary rows may be edited from here. For row fields, you can configure the matching of values, the layout, sorting, and coloring. Let's look at the layout options. Currently, the summary is set to show all key values. If we set this to suppress duplicates, the summary only shows the sales organization value once. The report immediately looks better and is easier to read through. Next, let's add subtotals for each of the sales groups. Go back to the layout settings for the sales organization. Here we have options for inserting a header and a subtotal line before or after each key value change. Let's first see what a header will look like. Type in the text for the header and choose whether you don't want the key value included in the header or if you want the key value to display before or after the text. You can also add blank lines after the header line. Here's what that looks like. For each sales group, we have our header details for Canadian sales and a blank line, details for direct US sales, and so on. Now let's put in a subtotal line for each group. Back at the layout settings for the sales organization, check the option for a subtotal line. This time you can insert blank lines both before and after the subtotal line. You can edit the text to be displayed and indicate whether you don't want the key value included or if you want it displayed before or after the text. With that, our summary now has subtotal lines for all the measure columns for each of our sales groups. This now looks better than the original summary, but there are a few more options we can explore. In the Coloring tab, we can set the format and colors in a number of ways. The default follows the style defined for the entire summary. We can override the default style by setting the color properties for the entire column, or even have different settings for the header, key values, and subtotal. The header option is disabled now, but this is enabled if we insert a header at the Layout tab. For this example, let's do away with the header and look at the other options. When setting the color properties of the key values, you can choose to apply your settings down the column even when duplicates are suppressed. You can set the values to display in bold, in italics, or underlined. You can set the text color, fill color, pattern, and pattern color. Note that these are the same properties you can set when clicking on Edit for the other options. Let's see how this looks. The coloring has been applied for each sales group value, including where duplicates were suppressed. Let's uncheck the key value option and work on the subtotal coloring instead. Set the text color and display the values in bold. You can also choose to apply the subtotal coloring to each of the measures. This formats the entire row, as we see here in the updated summary. The subtotals are now nicely formatted, including the actual subtotal values. To finish this up, let's format the grand total as well. The grand total line has the same coloring options as we saw for the row fields. As we did for the subtotals, this label style may also be applied to the measure columns. We've now seen how formatting the layout and style adds value to a summary. Readers are not encumbered by repetitive data. The report is rid of too much clutter, and pertinent information is emphasized. Summaries such as this may then be exported to Excel and shared with others in the organization. Refer to our video on exporting prepped and summarized data to Excel for more details.